Welcome to Shannons Club TV, the show for all motoring enthusiasts to rediscover the history of significant cars in Australia. In each episode, we take a close look at our feature cars' heritage on Australian roads and in competition. We'll also take a road trip with a proud owner and catch up on the latest market trends with the Shannons Auctions team. So, let's kick things off with the car that was at the forefront of the Japanese small car invasion of the 1960s, the Toyota Corona. The new Corona's shovel nose was quite confronting on its October 1964 local release, yet Australians soon treated it with endearment after this bold new Corona entered local production in January 1965. History now shows its unusual styling was way ahead of its time. The Australian market was so important to Toyota, the first shipment of 900 Japanese-built Coronas headed for the US was quickly diverted to Australia. The Corona's predecessor, the locally built Tiara, had sold out prematurely, leaving a 3-month gap before the local Corona could fill the showrooms. Maintaining momentum in Toyota's #1 export market was a higher priority than the US. The decision by Toyota and its local assemblers, AMI, to race these cars at Bathurst in 1965 was crucial in their rapid acceptance by the Australian car buyer. It was only 20 years after the end of World War II, so there was understandably a lot of anti-Japanese sentiment in some quarters, and a perception that anything made in Japan was poor quality based on early post-war exports. Competing in an iconic national sporting event like the Bathurst 500 was the best way to address both of those issues. This new Corona 1500 rewrote the rulebook for a 4-cylinder sedan at the price. It was suggested it could replace a 6-cylinder family car, which is exactly what many Australians did. Its 74 brake horsepower or 55 kilowatt output was close enough to the top-selling EJ Holden 6 on sale only a year earlier. The Corona's drum brakes were equal best for the class. Steering was light and easy with 4.25 turns lock-to-lock and a tight 9.7 metre turning circle. It offered a full inch or 25.4mm extra cabin width over its next widest rival, on a wheelbase long enough to provide the most rear legroom and the biggest boot of its type. Its class-leading front seat travel confirmed there were no tricks. The Corona proved unusually reliable and cheap to run over Australia's poor roads and long distances. That it remained so close to the top of its game until 1970 says it all. Today's domination by Toyota of the Australian market started here. Corona's success made Australia Toyota's biggest export customer again in 1965, with more than 17,000 vehicles sold, an increase from just over 11,000 in 1964. The US was still a long way behind in second, importing just under 9,000 units in 1965. To achieve such success in Australia, Toyota firstly needed to prove that post-war Japan could be taken seriously as a car industry, and Mount Panorama was the ideal place to start. Well, if you're interested in buying one of the original Toyota Coronas, here to talk all about it is from the Shannons Auctions team, Tiny Hanson. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Mark. How are you going?
Very well, mate. It's a car that we don't often see at the Shannons Auctions houses.
We don't often see them come through, Mark. In fact, I can't remember when we had one through. It's been quite a while.
So why do you think that is? I mean, given its classic status now, why wouldn't a lot come across the blocks?
Well, I think for many, many years they were almost a throwaway car. They were a car that they were pretty much unloved. Didn't have a big following. But now, in recent times, we see the following really starting to grow, especially with the younger generation.
So there's the younger generation, but I guess there's also the generation who grew up with these cars, like their mum drove them to school, in it to work, whatever, and they want to rediscover that magic.
That's exactly right. A lot of younger guys and girls are remembering the times when mum took them to school in the cars and took them on holidays in these sort of vehicles. And now when they see one, they say, oh, I remember when, so they go out and they try to find one.
Now, given that, because I've seen modified ones, we've seen stock ones, if someone's doing that nostalgia ship, I guess the emphasis would be take it back to original, the way it was
exactly
when they were a kid.
There are a lot of cars out there that have been modified extensively over the years, but we see there is a good following for people that are getting the modified cars, taking them back to the original factory specs, as in hubcaps, white wall tyres, that sort of thing.
Now, when we talk about restoration, what are spare parts availability for these? Because I guess You know, back in the old days, before the internet, it would have been pretty difficult, but now with the internet, it's just opened up so many channels.
Exactly right. Look, there are a lot of reproduction parts being made, both here in Australia and overseas, and and with sites like, as in eBay, you can pretty much buy anything for these cars.
So, in terms of the money you're going to sink into one of these restorations, I mean, this is a practical classic, obviously,
Yep.
but in terms of its resale value, you'd have to balance how much you want to spend on this car, taking it back to that level.
Exactly right. And look, we see a lot of people that have done a good restoration on the cars, spend a little bit of money, but they're not in any hurry to sell it. So it's a restoration and it's an investment. They're going to keep the car for quite a while.
And I guess in rareness, I mean, a lot of these cars have gone back to Japan. Japanese buyers have come out and taken them. So this is becoming quite rare now, isn't it?
They have indeed. It's very much under the radar too. We know of a lot of vehicles that have been advertised for sale in Australia on various sites and have gone back to Japan, either to be private collections or actually in the Toyota museums.
Okay, so it's a practical but affordable classic. Is that why we
very much so, practical and affordable classic. That's correct. Yeah.
Great. Thanks for joining us, Tony.
All right.
And keep in mind, you can keep up to date with all the latest news and auction results on the Shannons Auctions team on the Shannons Club website. The remarkable transformation of post-World War II Japan, from a nation shattered into surrender by atomic bombs in the 1940s to a burgeoning industrial powerhouse by the 1960s, was never better demonstrated than Toyota's first appearance at Bathurst with a trio of Coronas in the 1965 Armstrong 500. This was the first appearance of Japanese-made cars at Bathurst. AMI's switched-on management could see the benefits of subjecting these virtually unknown Oriental imports to the toughest test of performance and durability in full public view at Mount Panorama. Although AMI had been assembling the Toyota Tiara, it was not considered suitable for competition. The arrival of a new local Corona in 1965, though, was a game changer. AMI rightly figured the plucky 1.5 litre sedan would be competitive against its showroom competition on the mountain, a calculated gamble that would pay big dividends. Outright speed was not the greatest concern for the AMI racing team at Bathurst. The top priority was to get all three Coronas across the finish line with no mechanical problems, to prove they could excel in Australia's toughest production car race and to raise the Jap crap tag once and for all. And they did just that, claiming second, third and fourth in class, with the highest placed Corona finishing on the same lap as the class-winning Cortina 240. Three AMI Coronas returned to Bathurst the following year with another display of excellent reliability, even though they were outgunned for raw speed this time by BMC's near-invincible Mini Coopers. By then, however, AMI had already completed its Bathurst mission. Press coverage had been gushing in its praise of the Corona's quality engineering and outstanding reliability, which quickly earned the trust of Aussie car buyers who poured into Toyota showrooms. After conquering Bathurst, Toyota never looked back. If you'd like your own image of the Toyota Corona in competition, visit autopics.com.au.
I'm David Tolman. My car's a 1968 Toyota Corona 1600S. I purchased it in 1975, actually. It was my second car. The car probably wasn't in great condition when I bought it. The motor was quite fumy, so it burned quite a bit of oil, and it had obvious accident damage both in the front and the rear, which had been repaired but not repaired well. They're pretty rare cars, and I just went with it, and so I ended up getting the motor rebuilt and down the track getting it resprayed again. Basically, I'm pretty much into original, and everything on the car I've tried to do to original specifications. It's basically unmodified. Under the bonnet's a 1600cc motor with twin SU-style carburettors, headers. 95 horsepower was the rating. The 1600 Sports model had quite a few differences to the standard Corona. It had front power-assisted disc brakes, more powerful motor, bucket seats, sports instrumentation for the dash, tinted windows, fancy hubcaps. So it was quite distinctive and easy to separate from the standard Corona of the day. I think that's pretty much Japanese specification, to have the mirrors on the bonnet like that. When they were sold in Australia, they were blanked out. it's just a Japanese thing to have it there. In the future, yeah, just keep it. I got it in my head I'll keep it forever, and that's what I plan to do at the minute, yeah. I just like the styling and the fact it's different. I mean, I believe only 200 of them ever came to Australia in the first place, and there was also a sedan version which was a little bit more plentiful, but they were always in limited numbers and they were quite expensive too. I just like something that's different and a bit unique.
We hope you've enjoyed reflecting on this game-changing Japanese sedan. We look forward to your company next time on Shannons Club TV. Bye for now.